everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Bison Video Blog Signing Day Special. Along with Jeff Kolpack, I'm Izzo. National Signing Day Wednesday, a national holiday for those that follow college football like we do. The official start of the 2016 football season, Jeffrey. But ironically, it's actually the end of basically a 2-year cycle for these kids and the coaches that have been out recruiting basically for the last 2 years to try and get these guys to sign on the dotted line.
And I think it's just really amazing how the class has fluctuated over these last few weeks. And I think the number of decommits is probably higher than it's ever been. Number of guys getting poached, and then on the other end too, now NDSU's going after a couple guys who committed elsewhere.
What do you make of the amount of decommits? There's, I guess, two ways you could look at it. Say, well, maybe some guys are seeing the writing on the wall and say, well, I don't know if I'm going to play here. And also, NDSU is going after a higher breed of athletes, so to speak. If they're the guys that they lost to are going to Kansas, which we can debate to the cows go home, but then Iowa and Minnesota as well.
But I think NDSU's always gone after those guys that are just a little higher. You know, what you're seeing here is a product of 5 straight national championship teams, because I'm sure and I'm guessing, and if I'm some of these Big Ten coaches or Big 12 or whatever, you look at, okay, what's NDSU doing? Maybe they got a kid committed over the summer, and maybe they went to the Kansas camp, and they see they committed to NDSU, and they're going, okay, maybe we should look at that guy's tape again. What did NDSU see in this guy that we didn't? So maybe they're going back and revisiting those kinds of kids.
It's curious also, this is about the 3rd straight year where NDSU has got a boatload of commitments before the season even started. I believe they had, I think it's 11 guys that were committed during fall camp, so before the football season even began. That strategy has seemed to work after the first couple years of the playoff runs, where we'll see, especially with this senior class coming up, where there's only 7 or 8 guys that are still left of the 2012 class.
Right, and that's a lesson Craig Bohl learned after 2011. Yeah. Just because you win doesn't mean that they're going to come. I mean, just because you throw out a trophy and say, hey, look it, do you want to come and play for a national championship? You know, at the same time NDSU's in the playoffs, you know, Northern Iowa's in their living room.
Yep.
So, and we've talked about that forever now, it seems like.
It's the great debate about what wins out, and it seems being in the home is certainly worth its weight in gold. Let's look at this recruiting class. As we stand right now, NDSU got a bunch of guys yesterday, 10 preferred walk-ons already in this class. It's ballooned out to 26 guys, with maybe still a couple more coming. We don't have video of all the guys. We're not going to talk about everybody today, but we want to highlight some of the main guys. Offensive line, this class really hit a home run, I thought. We'll start first in North Dakota. This guy was the first commit of the class out of Rolla, North Dakota. Played for North Prairie. That's the combo of Rolla, Rock Lake, and Wolford. They played in the 9-man championship game. That's Carson Schuning, who is a big boy, Jeff, up front.
Yeah, and I watched him in the state title game here, and he was massive. I mean, he was a man among boys. And NDSU has made their hay on these smaller town kids who just come to NDSU with that farm work ethic. No hour of the day is too long and just
too early.
Or too early, yeah. And they just and they make a living off these guys. They're not highly recruited. You know, like I said, Iowa's not coming up to Rolla, North Dakota, and checking these guys out.
Now, this is an interesting strategy they've gone with over the last couple of years, because I think we're going to see Luke Bacon and Tanner Volson, also 9-man guys, really get into the rotation. Schuning is probably at least 2 years away. That's kind of what the MO that this coaching staff and kind of what we've seen going from North Dakota 9-man to make it all the way up to playing.
Right, and you see guys like this from smaller schools. They probably haven't been through the weightlifting regimen that say some
big
kids.
Boy, though.
Yeah, he is big, but some of these kids, let's say in the cities, that are probably from more advanced weight training, you know, meccas like Creighton Durham Hall or Eden Prairie. I mean, you're from Rolla. I mean, you're probably going to need a couple years of Jim Kramerism.
Now, and speaking of the Twin Cities and getting into that high-octane offense, is the next offensive lineman who might be the gem of this class from what several people have told me. That's Dylan Radens from Becker, Minnesota, the 2-time defending 4A champions. Becker is a known area for the Bison, Jeff. Obviously, the Veltmans hail from there. Matt was from there. Mike Veltman on the team right now. Big kid, 6'6", 253. This guy had preferred walk-on. I know, he's blocking downfield. Preferred walk-on offers from Minnesota and Wisconsin. Everybody in the FCS level in this part of the world wanted this kid. You can see him out in front blocking. He's got a lot of athleticism.
He does, and I like that frame. NDSU. How many times have you seen a 6'6", 250-pound guy?
Right.
And you go back to Joe Haig, you know, as a preferred walk-on. You go back to, I mean, you know, through the years, they'll find these guys that are maybe 250, and then guess what? a year or two later, they're 6'6", 305.
Right. This guy possibly could play sooner than later. He's already got the build. No, he's got to go through a little bit of, I'm not saying maybe he plays in August, but after that redshirt year, he might be on the offensive line come 2017.
And maybe a Paul Cornick type of frame,
yeah.
I think, where it just has, he looks so lean.
Kid,
he looks so lean.
You know that program at Becker, they know what to do with their athletes down there. A couple other offensive linemen worth noting. Ben Hecht is another kid out of Shawnee, Kansas, 6'6", 260, another lineman. There's one common theme. The guys they got on the offensive line are huge, Jeff.
Well, and that's the physical West Coast offense. Those are the type of guys you're looking for.
All right, now to some of the athletes, and we're going to stay in the Twin Cities, which obviously NDSU has really hammered over the last couple of years. Linebacker safety out of Robbinsdale Cooper High School, Moses Nyangacha. Guy has got a great name, first off. Second off, he can fly all over the place, and he can hit. They're from the safety spot, 6 foot 193.
You like it when they put these athletes on defense. NDSU's made a living on that. It's a little opposite of perhaps maybe the Big Sky philosophy where they put more scholarships on offense. I think NDSU's proven that you need those athletes on defense, and it works.
This guy has also been a ball hawking guy in a high level of football down in the Twin Cities. You can see there making a play. I visited with him in July when he committed. Really excited to have a chance to come up here and play. And possibly, you never know in that spot, Jeff. NDSU's really young on the back end. Obviously, corner, they're going to have two young guys playing there in 2016. We saw in the secondary, that's a spot where you can play early on.
It's one of those, if you're an athlete, we saw Robbie Grimsley.
Yep.
I think when he came in NDSU as Mr. Football, but he had athleticism and he learned the game.
And Jalen Ellison, remember, he did redshirt in 2014, but he was really close to playing in that true freshman year. Now another athlete, guy from Superior, Wisconsin, linebacker is Ross Kenley, preferred walk-on here, ton of talent. Ton of tackles. This guy hits hard, and he makes plays all over the football field.
He's a playmaker. I'm not really sold on those uniforms in Superior, but they're good. What a walk-on class! I'm interested to see in 3 years how that group progresses.
Well, we've seen obviously with this past senior class where you had a couple walk-ons in Haig and Schatz that were the standouts of it. How many that earned spots on the team? And this, you never know. Obviously, here we sit in 2016, 4 years' time. How many of these guys will still be around?
And the walk-on is a guy who, you take these guys who, they have to be good work ethic, okay? That's got to be number one. Yeah, you have to have athleticism, but you need these guys that are just good teammates and good work ethic guys, or else you don't offer them at all as a walk-on.
Tight end is a spot, Jeff, that NDSU has some attrition at. You can say where you want with Andrew Bond. If he was a fullback or a tight end, he played both spots. And obviously Luke Albers is gone after 5 years. NDSU brought in a couple guys that they think maybe in a couple years' time, they can be that West Coast playing tight end to get to where the Matt Veldman stage was in 2011. Let's start homegrown kid, Minot's Braden Lund. We visited with him when he verbaled way back in June. Big-time talent for the two-time runner-up in North Dakota in Class 3A. He's going to play, though, probably defense in college. He's a big boy, though, up front.
Well, yeah, he's a tight end, but you're saying maybe
he's probably going to be defensive end.
Yeah, defensive end, and he moves well too. I mean, look at that guy. You put some pounds on him, and at DN you need to move. I mean that's a position where you need some agility and quickness.
He's also shown some hands. He had a really nice game on defense in the state championship game against Bismarck Century this past year. Curious to see how his progression goes. You mentioned great athlete, but let's put him on the defensive side of the ball and see how he moves there. The next guy is really interesting to talk about. He's got some Bison bloodlines in him. That's Doug Lloyd's son, the Bison Hall of Famer, Gabe Lloyd out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, who this past weekend, Jeff, was on a preferred visit to Wisconsin. So he has verbally committed, but as we know, I don't know if it's a soft verbal or not, but I guess on Wednesday we'll find out if Gabe is coming to Fargo.
A verbal commitment really doesn't mean a whole lot anymore, does it?
No.
I mean, that just goes to show you that, okay, now they got to try harder to recruit him. Now, they, you talk about other teams. I like his size.
6'5", 220. He's big.
His dad was a big running back in his day, for especially Division II. I mean, I want to say he was probably 6'1", 6'2", and well over maybe 210, 215 pounds. And his son, similar body type.
He's got the moves as well. This is a big blow. If they lose him, Lloyd was high up on their list, especially on signing day. That's hard to replace a guy like that.
Well, the problem is when you say you get a tight end, then you stop recruiting other tight ends. Yeah. Now if he goes to Wisconsin, you're going, okay, is there another tight end on the board?
Right.
And it's probably too late at this stage.
Curious to see what happens there. If you're getting a Big Ten, I know it's preferred walk-on from the University of Wisconsin. He's a Wisconsin kid. It might be hard to say
rated
no.
though. He has a preferred walk-on status, and he didn't take it.
We'll see. Lloyd was up here a couple weeks ago. Wide receiver. This is a spot, a guy I think that can play right away. We get asked this question. Who's going to play right away? This kid might. Chaska wide receiver, Sean Engel. 6'5", big kid, lanky kid, and he can catch the football, Jeff. His highlight reel is very impressive.
I have a high school classmate who watched him play this year, and he texted me during the game, and he goes, for 6'5", he's fast.
Yeah.
I mean, he is really fast. That's the body type they haven't had at receiver.
This is a Jake Winicky kind of guy. I'm not saying he's Jake Winicky, but I'm saying he's in the Winicky body mold.
And when you look at the West Coast offense and you're saying the 7-8 yard line, that little fade route to a 6'5" guy also becomes a little more enticing.
Well, with Vra gone, and obviously he's the tallest of the wide receivers,
That's 6'2".
and Moody gone as well. This guy's 3 inches taller than Vra. I really believe a good fall camp, he stays healthy. He's playing the opening week, whoever it is, if it's Eastern Washington, whoever it is.
Well, they're looking for receivers,
yes.
And they got some coming back, obviously. We'll see how those guys progress in fall camp,
I'm curious to see
spring football.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if he makes it for opening day. Another Becker kid that verbally committed late last week. Bo Paley is his name. Another guy from Dylan Radin's team, another athletic guy. He's going to play linebacker, Jeff. Maybe his hand's not the best there, although he still did make the play. He's a tackling fiend as well. Another great program, as I mentioned, out of Becker, Minnesota.
Yeah, but this guy was hurt, too. So
Yeah.
that may have hurt his recruiting shot maybe over the summer or during the season. But, those are the type of guys I think you certainly take a chance on. He's going to probably redshirt, and, you're 2 years away from playing. So I wouldn't be scared of an injury at all.
He played running back as well during his high school career. A lot of talent, a lot of athletic ability there for Bo Paley. Punter was a big position. We talked about this on the radio show on Saturday. Obviously, NDSU losing one. What were they going to do? Were they going to address it with a scholarship goal, preferred walk-on? They go a different route. They go FBS transfer and get SMU's Jackson Kuntz, who has punted at Southern Methodist the last 2 years. Obviously, that's big boy football. It still is big boy football, Jeff. Even if it is the American Athletic Conference. But he's coming to NDSU. He'll have 2 years of eligibility, and he'll be able to kick right away.
He will, and it's a spot where I think is a good chance or good place to get an FBS transfer, especially if NDSU last year, they have nobody coming back who took a punt during the game. This guy's been there.
Good form.
Yeah. But we'll see if inside the 20 is a big thing. This was a stat that NDSU's been so good at over the years is net punting. You need a guy who can give some hang time on a punt, and he'll be inside, so he'll have all the chances in the world to be effective on the field position.
Look at the seamless transition at punter they've had from Prelvitz, who was an All-American, Voigtlander, who was a running back, but he did a really nice job his 1 year of doing it, and then they've had LeCompte the last 4 years. It's been really seamless at that position.
And Dragosevich before Prelvitz. So the Division I punting has just
really
been
good.
Solid,
Yeah.
and it's never been a letdown from year to year.
How do you make of this? They have King Frazier's the only other FBS transfer since Kleiman has taken over as head coach that they've gone down this road. What do you make of this?
You take it when you in a need basis.
Yeah.
And King Frazier, really, I mean, he was recruited by NDSU
Yes.
coming out of high school.
Another kid that was actually committed a couple days ago to Missouri State just flipped his commitment the day we're taping this. That's Adam Cofield out of Blue Springs, Missouri, a running back with a ton of talent. 6 foot, 190 pounds. You know this spot as well because that's Darius Shepard's home area, who originally verbally committed to South Dakota, and now obviously he's a Bison.
Some pretty good speed there. Number 12 is shown. And more important, I think, too, what this guy shows is he's a winner. That program has won 3 state titles. And so you're getting a guy who is used to winning, and you like those guys coming into a program that there's those intangibles. They come in and they know how to compete and they know how to win.
Now, what do you make of this, though, at the spot? Because running back is plugged right now. Everybody's coming back at that spot. Damaris Purifoy redshirted this season, so he's...
Can you have enough?
Well, that's the question I'm asking you. Does somebody... I can't imagine, does somebody move? Is somebody leaving the program? I don't know. There just seems like a lot of running backs
I think that's question 1A we're going to ask in spring football.
Yeah.
Is anybody going to move? Because they're pretty solid right there, especially next year.
Right.
If Purifoy has a good spring, now what do you do?
I mean, I guess it's a good problem to have, but you wonder about where you're going to be. Craig Bolt told us many moons ago, after the 2009 debacle where NDSU was down to Dante Perez playing a little bit of quarterback, there's no way that NDSU is not going to take a quarterback in every recruiting class. And despite the fact they are sitting pretty okay with Easton Stick, and they've got Cole Davis, who's not totally proven. They really like James Hendricks in that third role. They're taking another QB. This is from Providence Academy in the Twin Cities, and Henry Van Dellen. He is not Easton Stick size. He's a big kid, 6'4", pocket passer, and he can throw the football.
He can throw, yeah. Was there another big quarterback this program's had lately?
He's okay. He can heave it as well.
Yeah, I think Carson or something like that.
Is all right.
Yeah, he turned out pretty good. We saw a photo of Carson Wentz when he was a freshman and how young he looked. And so, Henry Van Dellen, what I like about him too is the way he's been approaching social media. I mean, he looks like he's reaching out to these other members of the class. That's one thing that Easton Stick did was he was almost a rallying point himself and getting other kids to commit.
I'm curious about when we might see this kid. You never know. I mean, Easton Stick obviously has 3 years of eligibility, so that's 16, 17, 18. We might not see this kid till 2019 if we sees the field. But the point is of getting a QB in every class and how important that has been for NDSU. They had the luxury of moving Esley Thornton from quarterback to linebacker because of that ability.
Well, this kid looks like he has good mechanics too, doesn't he?
Yep.
He sets his feet. He looked a safety away or something and threw the receiver. I just like the way he looks, and he looks very composed too, and that's a big trait to have as a quarterback.
Now, if all these guys redshirt, and they won't, they'll have the opportunity that their first game of their college careers will be at Oregon in 2020 in their senior year, if they choose to redshirt. But they'll also have some big other matchups. They'll get another game with UND down the road and with the Ducks. When you look at the class on the whole, and there's still probably a few other guys, Jabril Cox, another guy we should mention out of Missouri, linebacker, safety spot, really athletic, that the program is super high on, that they got to commit out of him.
Well, and if you're asking me what I think overall, you get your quarterback, and I think they got their quarterback.
They got their wide receiver. I think
and
that's
the offensive line too is very well stacked, and I think can you have enough? There was a time when NDSU had such problems with depth at the offensive line, and it really hasn't been the case the last 2-3 years.
And also getting punter. I think that was a big deal to laying that up. They also got a kicker on a preferred walk-on as well, which with Cam Peterson, that was last year, and that worked out okay to probably drive some competition come fall camp.
It's a spot you need competition, absolutely.
No doubt about that. A reminder, we got a full day of coverage coming up Wednesday. You don't want to forget it. We will actually have for the third year, our special signing day radio show. You can listen to it live on 970 WDAY from noon to 2. Kolpack, myself, Jay Bartley will join us as well for the third straight year. Some of these guys we talked about will also join us after they have signed their letter of intent. You can also listen to it on WDAY.com. Coach Chris Kleiman will join me live on the sports on WDAY at 6:20 on Wednesday night to give his review of the class. So it's
we'll see if Gabe Lloyd joins us.
Yeah, we'll see. Gabe Lloyd is supposed to. That is if he signs with NDSU. We'll find out coming up on Wednesday. Keep your eyes on the blog. A lot of coverage coming up over the next couple days. For Jeff Kolpack, I'm Dom Izzo. That's the latest Bison Video Blog.